Dog's purpose.
Why do you always have this dog with you? The dog's laughing at you. Dogs don't laugh. That's funny.
Rated PG.
Yeah, because it's already traumatic enough to see one animal that you love die. This movie basically shows you multiple examples of an animal dying, but who knows? They could come back to you in a different kind of animal overall. I mean, good intentions, but not the best example of a movie here. Welcome to Time About the Movies. We're wrapping January up with 3 films, but truth be told, this probably is the best overall film of the weekend, but man, is it one that is... let's just talk about it. A Dog's Purpose. You have based off of the novel of the same name, it follows a dog voiced by Josh Gad as he's reincarnated as different breeds belonging to various owners. Over the course of multiple lifetimes, the canine's existence intersects with that of a young boy who rescues him in 1962, who grows up to be Dennis Quaid. This is directed by Lasse Hallström, and Lasse Hallström can be a really good director. He's made a lot of very good movies. He made The Cider House Rules. He did Once Around, a very underrated gem of a movie with Richard Dreyfuss and Holly Hunter. But around this time, he was kind of half-assing it a little bit here, and at least this movie is slightly better than is much better than his next movie he'll do, which is probably his worst film, Nutcracker in the Four Realms. But yeah, the biggest problem with this film overall is the sense that, you're watching a movie where an animal is dying multiple times, and yeah, he's being reincarnated into all these different animals, but you're getting it from the dog's perspective, but the human's perspective is, that's something where I've lost animals before. It's not easy. It's very, very rough on you. It's on me too as well. I lost a cat about 7 years ago. That still bothers me to this very day about what happened when my cat Karu died. But I get what they're trying to do here, but this movie is one of those movies where it's trying to take something that is real life and, trying to give you the hope that, this animal that you know and love, he's reincarnated into something else entirely, but you're never going to be able to see it because it's going to be a completely different person altogether that's going to be having those memories of it, except that one person played by Dennis Quaid. But even then, it's a little too schmaltzy for its own good. And, this director actually did a really good dog movie a few years ago called Hachi, A Dog's Tale, which, is a very good film. It's a movie it's a movie based on a true story about this dog that follows this professor every time he goes to the bus, but then he dies, and the dog still follows him to the train station, even though he's never coming back. And that movie, I think, did a better job of dealing with death and a dog in particular, not with the dog itself, but the death of somebody that you care and love for not being there for you. And yeah, this movie, I get what it's trying to do. It's trying to tug at your heartstrings and try to give you a sense of reality to this whole thing, but at the same time, it's trying a little too hard overall. Plus, not to mention that the film also really got screwed over big time because there was a video that leaked out just a couple of days before the premiere of this, where there was a video on TMZ where they showed footage of this male German Shepherd being dragged and dipped into rushing water while visibly resisting, and then there's a cut in the video, and the next cut shows the dog being submerged into the water at the end of a take, with a voice on set being heard saying, "Cut it," and various people are then seen rushing towards the dog. And so the American Humane Association, announced that the representative on the set had been suspended over that incident, and the incident was under further investigation. And so PETA actually called a boycott against the movie, and even Josh Gad said he was shaken and sad to see any animal being put in that situation against its will. And even the director said he didn't witness the action in the video and was very disturbed by the footage. So where'd they get this footage from then? But it basically really kind of ruined the movie overall. Even if it was later released a couple days later after this film came out that the dog was okay in the end, but still, you already have a movie that's uncomfortable enough as it is, but then you have this situation happen here, and yeah, it basically kind of ruins the ebb and flow of the film's success factor pretty early on. And yeah, Dog's Purpose is one of those movies where you think it would be something good, but like I said, it's a tough film to really try to sell to people, where you're going to have an animal, passing away multiple times, but his personality is going to go through these different animals. It's just, I don't know. To me, it just really didn't work. It just didn't really work the way I think they wanted it to. So, yeah. So not much more to say about that one. So let's go ahead and, like I said, it's probably the better of the best. It's probably the best of the three movies out there, because our next movie is the final chapter of the Paul W.S. Anderson and Mila Jovovich saga that is Resident Evil, the final chapter.
This will be the state of our union. Unless this election, we make the right choice. Vote Alice.
We are so fucked. But hey, you get at least a sneak preview of what the White House and Washington D.C. is going to look like after Trump is out of office. So there's that. But anyway, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, the sixth and final installment of the original series, where you have Alice once again played by Mila Jovovich and her friends, betrayed by Albert Wesker, who gathers the entire forces of the Umbrella Corporation into one final strike against the Apocalypse survivors. So you know that I have not been a fan of the Resident Evil movies, and I mostly am not a fan of Mila Jovovich. I think she's one of the most overrated actresses out there. She's not that great of an actress. So, much to my surprise, I actually did not hate this one. I would go as far as to say it's probably the one Resident Evil movie that I did kind of enjoy. I know, shocking. I mean, after talking so much smack about these movies ever since the first one 15 years prior, I can't believe I actually found one that's actually tolerable. It actually does kind of work overall. Granted, it's still nowhere near like the video games that we've come to know and love, but it's still better than some of the other movies in the series. It does wrap up the story in general, and at least tries to stick back into what you expect from the world of the video games in general. It's like they actually did their homework this time around, and I'm not going to say it's a classic by any means necessary or a great movie, but it's the best of the Resident Evil movies I've seen up to this point. I mean, hopefully Zach Cregger is able to bring this back to where it should be at and, you know, make us forget about the horrors of the next one, Welcome to Raccoon City, that came out about 4 years later, which was terrible. But, yeah, this one, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And that's probably the best overall review I can give to a film like this. But I still wouldn't recommend it. But if you're being forced to watch one of these Resident Evil movies, I'd say this is probably the best one to watch overall. But even then, it's not really saying a whole lot. Pray that Zach Cregger actually gives us a good Resident Evil film in September. Because, yeah, we desperately need a great one from him. So there you go. That's Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. I was nice to at least one movie, so give me credit for that. But with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here. Matthew McConaughey starring in Gold.
You had no knowledge.
Just set up.
My partner betrayed me. Question is, how did 17 billion disappear overnight?
Gold. Rated R.
I don't know about you, but there seems like there's way too much stuff going on in this movie, which probably leads to why the film was not a big success at all. This is based off of the true story of the 1997 Bre-X mining scandal, where a massive gold deposit was supposedly discovered in the jungles of Indonesia. However, for legal reasons and to enhance the appeal of the film, character names and story details were changed. Which is probably not a good sign for this film going forward, even with the strong cast that includes McConaughey, Edgar Ramirez, Bryce Dallas Howard, Corey Stahl, Toby Kebbell, Craig T. Nelson, Stacy Keach, Bruce Greenwood. Directed by Stephen Gagnon. Stephen Gagnon, of course, directed Syriana, which was a great movie with George Clooney in it. But then he followed this up with Doolittle, and I think we all know how that turned out. But, yeah, this film, I mean, it's one of those movies that was clearly being dumped by the Weinstein Company because their company was going under, even before the Harvey Weinstein allegations started coming out. Like, we had a couple movies that were more than likely going to be Oscar contenders. This, and last week we looked at The Founder, and The Founder was a great movie. This, though, not so much. Even with Matthew McConaughey doing the best he can to try to save the film, I mean, it's not enough in the end. It's just a really, really lackluster film. Yeah, it's just it's one of those movies where there's probably an interesting story involved in this in general, but, you know, the fact that you have to change everything for legal reasons and to enhance the appeal of the film, meaning make it more mass marketable, yeah. Not surprising this film didn't do very well overall. As far as the money goes, as far as the critics go, and as far as the film itself goes. It's a pretty bland, forgettable film, so the type of film that you release in the month of January, so take that for what you will. That is gold for you. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movie. Super Bowl weekend comes your way next, February 3rd, 2017. And yeah, studios obviously realize that they're not going to put any of the great stuff out there because we have the reboot of the Ring franchise with Rings. How do you turn the franchise that should really be a franchise because the second one was not that great? Make a movie that's somehow even worse than the second film is. We'll touch on that with Rings, and then we'll touch on The Space Between Us, one of the STX Entertainment movies that I feel like was dumped out because, man, once you see it, yeah, you start to realize that this movie probably was not meant to be an early February release. This was probably a movie that was highly expected to be an awards contender possibly, but then they saw it and just like, oh, fuck, no, we're not putting this out there. But we'll touch on those two films coming up tomorrow on the show, so stay tuned for that. But, with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.